Hey everyone. For anyone that doesn't know, part 2 of the Overlord collab is going to be dropping in roughly half a day, or at 3 AM Eastern Standard Time on the 9th. I thought it'd be interesting to go a little more into depth for their kits. I did make their kit video from like 7 months ago, but in this one I'll be talking about them with the newer JP meta in mind. Jumping right into it with AINZ, he's a dark demon and his slots are 6-star magic, 5-star support, and a 4-star heal or 4-star support. The magic and support are really strong. The heal is definitely not bad in harder content, although the LB7 slot is super strong as well, but I would save the LBs for other units that might need it more. For his skill, it has a 12-second CT. For 10 seconds, it reduces the enemy's magic resist by 20%. This is a really great skill, to be honest. It's a high magic resist debuff that's active for more than 80% of the game due to it having a 10-second uptime despite the 12-second CT. For his arts, it does 20,000 dark damage magic. It has a 100% chance to burn. If it does burn, it reduces the burn enemy's fire and dark resist by 40% for 15 seconds. Definitely an interesting art. The fire and dark resist debuffs are really high, although the fire debuff is kind of out of place. This will be really solid for harder content that requires a burn, but you don't want to bring a dedicated burn unit or equip. For example, Stage 5 of the Dark Summoner's Road. For his true arts, it does 50,000 dark damage magic. For 20 seconds, all allies get 4 arts a second. Demon allies get 6 arts a second instead. And for 25 seconds, reduces enemies' crit resist by 100%, and it has Type E Arch Gen. This is an insanely strong true art. Anyone on the team gets a minimum of 80 arts, while demons get 120 arts. That's overpowered for basically any demon team. Additionally, the crit resist debuff will allow the team to be able to crit on bosses, as well as being able to crit in addition with a crit rate buffer on stages that have high crit resist. Definitely a solid true art. Gets so much better with demon allies, although AINZ doesn't necessarily need to be ran with any demons to be good. For his super arts, it does 150,000 dark damage magic, and for 15 seconds, all allies get 100% crit damage. Dark allies get 200% instead. Quite a hefty damage buff. 100% crit damage for anyone is nice, but that 200% is insane, especially when it can be used to benefit units like Saber, Mikey, or even AINZ himself. Because with the high multiplier and crit damage buff, this is gonna do a ton of damage despite AINZ not being a dedicated DPS. For his passives, when he's above 80% HP, he gets 5 arts a second. He increases his magic resist by 20% and increases all allies' crit rate by 20%. The 5 arts a second is really strong, especially considering the fact he already gets 6 a second from his true art for being a demon. So he'll be getting 11 arts a second just from himself. The magic resist is quite high, and the increase to all allies' crit rate is interestingly niche, although it's nice if you don't run a crit buffer on 100% crit resist bosses, but it does fall off if you decide to run a crit rate buffer. Overall, AINZ is definitely the best pickup on this banner, and in my opinion, the entire crossover. You could pity if you want to, but knowing we have tons of insane units coming in the future, I'd hold off on him unless you really love AINZ or just really want him for his kit. Definitely not gonna fall off anytime soon from his support, especially with his rare crit resist debuff on true art and heavy crit damage buff on super art. He gives a ton to the team, and I myself hope I can pull him. Moving on to NARBERAL, she's a light demon and her slots are 6-star support, 5-star support, and 4-star magic or heal. Very interesting slots for sure, very reminiscent to Sonya, although that 4-star magic is holding her back a ton. If you decide you do want to use her in endgame content, that heal slot is gonna pretty much be needed, but considering Star God Lisa exists, you probably want to save those LBs for her instead. For her skill, it has a 10-second CT, and for 8 seconds, demon allies get 30% damage. Despite being limited to demons, this is an insane skill. A base 30% damage with an 80% uptime is really good. You definitely want to use the skill as often as you can when running other demon units. For her arts, it does 13,000 light damage magic, increases all allies' arts by 20, demon allies get 30 instead, and for 20 seconds, all allies get 20% magic resist. It's a very interesting art. It'll have okay arts for any ally, although demon allies will benefit the most, as this basically becomes a priestess art for demons. The 20% magic resist buff is really strong as well. It'll definitely be helpful on harder content that requires damage resist, a pretty good art for sure. For her true arts, it does 40,000 light damage magic, and for 25 seconds, all allies get 30% stats up, and the leader unit gets 200% damage and 30% damage resist. Definitely one of the more unique true arts I've seen from a 6-star. The fact you can specifically choose a unit to buff versus other units in the team is wild. The stats up isn't too bad either, but that 200% damage is gonna make some units very strong. The damage resist is kind of out of place though in my opinion, because on harder content, you generally want to run AoE damage resist without a taunt tank, but when you are running a taunt tank, I feel her damage buff is going to be wasted on them if you decide to make them the leader, although that 30% damage resist will be really good for them. But again, the damage buff is going to be wasted, so you need to measure it out as to whether or not it's going to be worth it. In general though, this will definitely help units to be able to put out insanely high numbers. Gonna be interesting to try out for anyone that does get her. For her super arts, it does 130,000 light damage magic. For 20 seconds, it reduces the enemy's magic resist by 100%. The magic resist debuff here is insanely high and is really good for magic teams, but to be honest, considering most of her kit is built to buff a unit, it could fall off if you decide you want to buff a physical DPS, but with magic units, the super art is going to benefit them greatly. Generally speaking though, I think that the team would benefit more from a true art and art from NARBERAL rather than wasting 300 arts for this 20-second long debuff. For her passives, all demons get 50 arts at the start of quest, 70% paralysis resist, and 30% damage to demons. The 50 arts for demons is really good. It'll allow herself and other demons to start off a lot faster for sustains and nukes. Although it's unfortunate it's so limited considering so many good damagers and supporters aren't demons. The paralysis resist is whatever, and the damage up to dragons is kind of out of place considering the only multiplier she can actually do damage on is her super art. And generally speaking, you're really not going to be using that too much, at least using her as a DPS anyways. Overall though, NARBERAL is an insanely strong supporter, great in endgame and nukes, especially with leaderboard clears, since she'll be able to enable a lot of fast clears with strong damagers. Her value increases tremendously when she's placed with demons, although she doesn't need to be ran with demons to be good. Unlike Albedo, NARBERAL can have an entire team of humans go with her, and she'll still provide as much value with her 200% damage buff. The thing is, when she is run with demons, she increases their arts a little more than usual, as well as starting them off quicker with 50 arts, but nothing game changing. Some people are saying that she's worth a pity, but to be honest, I don't really think she's worth one at all. She does give crazy damage buffs, but her usability besides that falls off heavily when she's compared to tons of other 6 stars with their support. If you're gonna pity someone, at the least pity AINZ, since he gives a lot more to your team. That's what I think about their kits though. They're both very good. I'm not personally gonna go too deep for them, although AINZ is a very good unit to chase if you're whaling. Don't chase an NARBERAL unless you just really like her, but she's a great pickup nevertheless. Let me know what you guys think about the units though down below. If you did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you later.